My unfaithful wife betrayed me with my own brother for years. Everyone knew and stayed silent, weaving a thick veil of lies around me. She even became pregnant and swore the second child was mine. But betrayal doesn't creep in like a whisper. It storms in, shattering every illusion you've built. I stood frozen, heart pounding, as Amy, my pregnant wife, stared at the photos, her face pale, eyes wide. Those images were a cruel echo of my past with Georgia, my ex-wife, and her sister. If this story grips you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. But the real blow came later in that cold, echoing courtroom. Georgia's chilling confession ripped through me like a blade. Her son wasn't Brad's, my brother's, as we all believed. He was my father's. The twisted rod of my family's secrets wrapped tighter and tighter around my throat, each revelation more venomous than the last. As Amy lay struggling to steady herself amid the chaos, I realized this had gone far beyond revenge. This wasn't about payback anymore. It was a fight for everything I loved, for every promise I'd ever made. It was time to take back control. My heart broke again as I watched my wife, carrying our child, cry. I wanted to reach out, to soothe her, to explain. But as Darren and I stood there watching Tony try to comfort Amy while shooting me a hard glare, it hit me. There was no point. Neither of the expectant women would believe me now. Even Darren, the man I considered my closest friend after Amy, looked at me with doubt after seeing Amy's phone. "Come on, Robbie," he muttered, almost dragging me like a scolded child back to his car. Within minutes we were at our local pub. I followed him inside, feeling crushed, even after all the battles and training we'd shared. Darren slapped 2 drinks down in front of me. "All right, explain," he demanded, his jaw tight with anger. I saw the storm in his eyes. He'd seen the photos and messages of me with Georgia. The email accusing me of cheating only fanned the flames. "Darren," I sighed, "you know I would never betray Amy. After everything Georgia put me through, you should know that." I took a sip, feeling panic over Amy's pain twist into anger as my thoughts sharpened. "But the email, the pictures, the video," he pressed, still angry but listening now. "Darren," I said, meeting his eyes. I was embarrassed he'd glimpsed my private life, but honesty was all I had left. "Haven't you and Tony ever taken private photos or videos together?" I asked quietly. "Can you really say you've never had anything personal?" He hesitated, caught off guard. After a long pause, he muttered, "Of course we have. But those are ours. Amy just got them." "Darren," I cut in, leaning forward. "Those pictures are almost 10 years old. Think about who I was married to back then. I thought I was happy with Georgia." I watched his expression shift as my words sank in. He frowned, swore under his breath, and his anger began to fade. "Oh, I see," he murmured. I nodded. "I'm in those pictures, yes. They're from my life with Georgia. Now my family's using them to destroy my marriage to the woman I love most in this world." We sat in silence, sipping our drinks, lost in our own thoughts. "Robbie, I'm sorry," Darren finally said. "I didn't want to believe it, but it makes sense now. I see why Amy and Tony didn't think of that." I shrugged. "We're dealing with 2 very pregnant women right now. Without being rude, they're not exactly thinking clearly." We spoke a bit longer, both sickened that someone, likely family, had handed Amy those private photos and videos. Darren pulled out his phone and typed a message to Tony and Amy. "I've spoken with Robbie. He's right. It's not what it looks like. These are old photos from when he was with Georgia. He's not unfaithful. He loves Amy." We finished our drinks quietly. Guilt still gnawed at me for how my past was now haunting Amy. Darren slid his phone away and stood. "Come on, Robbie. Let's fix this." Just as we were heading out, my phone rang. Amy. Relief flickered through me, but her voice wasn't what I expected. She didn't sound relieved. She sounded terrified. "Robbie," she began, her voice trembling. Believing she was still upset, I tried to stay calm. "I'm here, Amy. I'm on my way home. I'll explain everything." "Robbie, I'm scared," she whispered, her voice breaking. "It's okay. I'm on my way. I'm sorry about what you saw earlier," I started, but she cut me off. "Not that. Robbie, I'm hurt. Please help me." Her words hit me like a hammer. Before she could say more, I bolted, leaving the car behind, sprinting up the hill with Darren right behind me. "I'm coming, Amy," I yelled. People moved aside as we charged past. Nothing would stop me from reaching her. "Darren," I gasped. "We need help at home now. Amy's hurt." "Oh no," he muttered, already dialing emergency services. Minutes later, I burst through the door and ran straight to the bathroom. Amy sat on the floor, blood pooling nearby. I dropped to my knees, gathering her into my arms. "Help is coming," I whispered. "I don't care if you ever loved me," she sobbed. "I need you, Robbie. Even if you don't feel the same way. Our baby. We'll be okay," I promised. "I told you, Amy. I would never be unfaithful." She started to speak, but I pressed a finger to her lips. "Those pictures are old, from when I was with your sister. Someone's twisting the facts. I would never betray the most amazing woman I know." I kissed her forehead as ambulance lights flashed through the bathroom window. Amy sagged slightly, calming. Moments later, Darren ushered the medics inside. After a quick check, they lifted Amy onto a stretcher, and we rushed to the hospital, Darren and Tony trailing behind with William. Since Amy was pregnant, they treated her immediately. While the doctor worked behind a curtain, I stood outside, tense. Darren cradled a drowsy William. Tony came over and hugged me. "Robbie, I'm really sorry," Tony murmured. "We saw the email with the photos and didn't ask questions." Darren told me the truth. "It's okay," I said quietly. "Really? It's all right. None of us saw this coming. I just need Amy and the baby to be safe. I'll deal with the rest later." We talked a while until the doctor stepped out. Mr. Other, he said gently, your wife and baby are fine. She had a minor complication, likely from stress. She's not in danger, but she'll need rest until delivery. No heavy activity. I exhaled, nodding, before going to Amy. Darren and Tony took William to give us privacy. I sat by Amy's bed and held her hand. 2 monitors beeped softly, one for her heart, one for our babies. She gripped my hand like a lifeline. They want to keep us for a few hours for monitoring, she murmured. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I saw the photos. You were with Georgia? Yes, I admitted. Amy, I love you more than anything. Georgia's just my past. I'm embarrassed anyone saw those pictures. They're from years ago, from private moments that should have stayed private. I understand now, she said, eyes glistening. I'm sorry for how I reacted. Are there more photos? There are, I confessed with a small smile. But Georgia isn't as beautiful as you. There might be dozens. I deleted them long after we started dating. I never thought anyone else would use them against me. I'm embarrassed you, Darren, and Tony saw them. You mean you want them to see our private photos instead? She teased faintly. I chuckled for the first time that night. No way. Your body's mine, just like I'm yours. She grew serious. Robbie, can you get your phone? Sure. What? This. She lifted her shirt slightly, revealing her pregnant belly. Take a picture before someone walks in. I smiled and snapped a few photos. She lowered her shirt just as Darren and Tony returned with William, now awake and eager to sit with his mom. Darren arched an eyebrow at me. Did we interrupt something? He asked. I just smirked. They stayed another 20 minutes, then left with William, promising to spend the night nearby. The doctor checked Amy again. The bleeding had stopped, but she needed observation overnight. I settled into the chair by her bed while she drifted into an exhausted sleep. Around 3 a.m., Amy startled awake. Oh, I'm so mad I could scream, she blurted, jolting me from my cramped position. Amy, are you okay? I asked, rubbing my neck. She blinked, realizing where she was, and flushed. Sorry, I had a dream that your brother sent those emails to break us up. In the dream, when we divorced, he tried to hurt me. I was screaming for you. I reached for her. We'd fought so many battles already. This felt like yet another war sparked by my own family, especially my brother. As she spoke, we both thought of the same person at the same time. And just as I breathed a small sigh of relief, my phone vibrated on the bedside table. A message from an unknown number lit up the screen. You think this is over? Think again. The truth has only begun to unfold. Brad. We both blurted out at once, the name hanging heavy in the room like a thunderclap. Hand me my phone, Robbie, Amy said softly, her voice trembling with restrained urgency. I passed it over, eyeing her cautiously. You're not about to do something reckless, are you? I asked. She gave a faint, humorless chuckle. Not at all. She quickly dialed a number, her fingers steady but her eyes fierce. Hey, Dominic. Yeah, I know it's late. You never sleep anyway. Listen, I need your help. There's an email in my inbox from tonight with photos of Robbie and his ex. I need to know exactly where it came from, within 24 hours. She paused, listening, her expression flickering between focus and irritation as she added more details before finally hanging up. It's done. Dominic's on it. If it came from your brother or anyone in that family, Jorge will handle it, she murmured. Amy gave me a weak, apologetic smile and reached for my hand. Robbie, I'm so sorry for reacting without talking to you first. Can you forgive me? She asked, her voice small but sincere. I let out a soft laugh. It's okay, Amy. Honestly, I probably would have reacted the same way. I hate that this happened, she whispered. I never imagined those photos would be seen by anyone, especially you and my closest friends. We stayed up talking for a while, the shadows on the walls growing longer, until exhaustion tugged at her eyes. Slowly, she drifted into sleep, her breathing soft and steady. By morning, the hospital cleared her to go home. I settled her in bed with her laptop and phone, gently reminding her to take it easy, only light work. I worked from home too, wanted to stay close. It was quiet until lunchtime. Then a message popped up on Amy's screen. Her eyes lit up as she read it. Great news, she said as I walked in. Dominic confirmed it. The email came from Brad Jr.'s phone. They tracked it. I'm going to prepare something for George within the hour. I watched her fingers fly across the keyboard as she composed an email with all the proof for George. But just before she could hit send, another message appeared, from the same address. She froze. Amy, my excitement about this is fading, she muttered. Another email. More attachments. Videos this time. Her hands trembled, but she tried to stay calm. What should we do? I asked quietly. I know we need to send this to George and the police, she said. But, could you look at them for me? I love you, Robbie, but I don't think I can handle seeing you with my sister again. I nodded solemnly and took the laptop from her. She slipped into the bathroom as I opened the attachments one by one. I watched her move carefully across the room. She'd been through so much already. My stomach twisted as the images loaded. What once might have excited me now felt sickening. It was obvious my brother was trying to sabotage us. The photos were private moments between Georgia and me, moments that should have stayed buried. Some shots were innocent enough, others showed us looking far too close. But the videos were worse. Intimate scenes recorded from my bedside table, faces clearly visible. The second video was even more invasive. I slammed it shut before it could play through. My skin crawled. The email itself was brief, but cruel. Amy, I'm really sorry to do this. I can't stay quiet about your husband's relationship with his ex-wife. Hard to believe they'd take pictures while married to other people. I hope you can use these as proof in your divorce. Best, a concerned friend. My hands shook with anger. Amy re-entered the room, phone pressed to her ear. Her eyes searched mine. Robbie, she said quietly. I've got George on the line. I gave him the basics, my face betraying how bad it was. Worse, I said flatly. Amy frowned, yesterday's hurt flickering back across her face. We were both unraveling. Can I put you on speaker, George? She asked. I'm sorry, Robbie. George's voice came through the speaker. But we need to act quickly. George, you're on speaker with Robbie and me, Amy said. Good, George replied. I know Amy's upset. But how are you, Robbie? Are you holding up? I stayed silent, then cleared my throat. Sorry, George. I'm here. But no, I'm not okay. Yesterday my wife was devastated. We nearly lost our baby from the stress of that first email. I'm furious, George. I understand, he said gently. But as your lawyer, I need your permission to use these materials. They can support our case. You didn't agree to share these moments. Is that all right? Yes, I said quietly. I'll need to see the photos myself, George added, his voice apologetic. I promise they'll stay in my office, no one else. George, you have my permission, I replied, unease gnawing at me. Thank you, Robbie, George said. This is difficult, but if all goes well, your brother could face serious consequences soon. Go for it, I growled, unable to hide my anger. Amy ended the call a few minutes later and looked at me. Were they really that terrible? She asked softly. I nodded. Do you want to talk about it? She offered. Do you want to know? I countered. No, she whispered. But if it helps you, I'm here. I exhaled. They were like yesterday. But the videos, they're upsetting in a different way. The first one, she asked. It was intimate, I admitted. Did it make you feel good? Is that why it hurts? Amy asked, reaching for my hand. No, I shook my head. It's knowing others have seen it. It was private. It was special. Now it's ruined. I think I understand, Amy said, rubbing my arm. When we're close, when we look into each other's eyes, that's just for us. If anyone saw our moments, I'd feel the same. Do you regret making them? She asked quietly. No, I said, surprising her. Why? Because she was my wife, I said simply. Those memories were ours. I didn't want them after we separated, but I don't regret making them out of love. I only regret my brother found them. Amy absorbed that in silence. She knew why it hurt. Photos of me with another woman, even if that woman was her sister. What about our photos? She asked. Do you wish we hadn't made them? Definitely not, I said firmly. I love our photos, Amy. They show how much I care about you. They're ours, private, safe. Amy smiled faintly. What about the second video? She pressed. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. No, it's okay. We need to be honest, I said, hesitating. I just can't describe it right now. She sighed. Robbie, help me feel better. When the time comes, I want us to be closer than anything in those videos. Better, stronger. We spoke quietly for a while. When she felt ready, I agreed. After the baby was born, William's cry cut through the tension like sunlight. Thank you, Robbie. Go get William while I get ready, Amy said. If you're good, tonight will be ours. The next day, just after lunch, everything shifted. The police arrested my brother at work with an actual warrant. It hit the news instantly. A local man arrested for leaking private photos of his wife and her ex to sabotage their new life. They showed Brad being taken away. Georgia was questioned, but released under orders not to leave town. Reporters swarmed my father. He turned his back and walked away. Later that afternoon, my phone rang from an unknown number. My stomach dropped. My mother. Robbie, she snapped. Why would you do this to your brother? After all these years, do you hate us so much you'd set him up like this? Hold on, Mom. I didn't do anything like that. Your son sent those photos to Amy, trying to make me look guilty. We're just responding to what he did. Get the facts before blaming me. Silence. Then, are you telling the truth? She asked quietly. Your father and brother say you set Brad up. Mom, after everything, have I ever lied to you? I asked. Well, no, she said slowly. But I know how much you dislike us. I took a deep, steadying breath. Mom, really think about it. Why would I ever want to share those embarrassing moments with Georgia? That's ridiculous. I don't want anyone seeing that side of my life. I'm done with it. That makes sense, Mom said softly, her voice trembling. But Robbie, your brother is in trouble. Can't you just let it go? He never complained when you two fought. No, Mom, I can't. What happened between Brad and me is one thing, but he dragged me, Amy, and Georgia into this, and she's now his wife. Whatever else happened, this crosses the line. Even if I hadn't wanted to press charges, I do now. He broke the law, and the police take this seriously. Okay, Robbie, I understand, she murmured, regret heavy in her tone. I'm sorry. We've caused you more trouble than you deserve. Silence settled for a moment, thick and uneasy. Robbie, her voice wavered. Yes, Mom. I asked, noting the pause. I was surprised I called her Mom again. I'd only done it a few times before, but it felt right. I hear I have another grandchild. Her voice was soft, almost fragile, as if my answer could change everything. I exhaled. Yes, you have one grandson, William. And soon there will be another, I added gently. I could hear her start to cry. I'm sorry, Robbie. I can't handle this, she said, and then the line went silent. For the first time in a long while, I felt a pang of sympathy for her. At first, she had shown no remorse for our family's actions, yet over time, I noticed her attempts at apology. Could I forgive her? Perhaps, for her alone, not for Dad, Brad, or Joanna, but maybe for Mom. That thought lingered as I carried breakfast to Amy in bed. What is it, baby? She asked, her hand resting on her growing belly as I set down a tray with tea, a croissant, and jam. I just talked with my mom, I said softly, staring out over the ocean from our deck. She nodded. Did she blame you for Brad's arrest? Sort of, I admitted. But I told her to get her facts straight first. We drifted into talking about William and the new baby. I even called her mom instead of Hattie, which made Amy laugh quietly, crumbs falling onto her belly. William wandered in, climbing onto the bed to kiss Amy's belly and then sneak a bite of croissant. Laughter filled the room. He was growing bolder every day. Before long, he wandered off to watch TV. Amy sipped her tea, a small smile on her lips. Though she wasn't a tea fan, she had given up coffee for the pregnancy. Once she was ready, I'd be back to bringing her a latte every morning. The conversation was calm, but the weight of my family's drama lingered. Mom had hung up abruptly, overwhelmed by everything. Amy glanced at me knowingly. She's feeling the weight of all that's happening, she said. I think so, I admitted. Amy shifted on the bed, careful with her belly. A few years ago, she had nearly lost a child while supporting another. The weight of family mistakes, failed expectations, and strained relationships had built up over decades. Her empathy was unwavering. She reached for my hand. Your mom must feel like she failed. She couldn't protect one of her kids and had to keep you at a distance. Seeing the other children make mistakes only worsens that pain. Talking to you brings all that back. But I didn't break her trust, I said. I tried to help, and yet her choices hurt my life too. Amy's gaze softened. I'm not saying she's right, she said. But you can see her sadness now. It wasn't there before. I sighed. I don't want to forgive her. I want to hold on to the anger at all of them. You don't have to forgive anyone, she murmured, wrapping her arms around me, pressing her belly to mine. But maybe it's time to let go of some of that hate, at least toward your mother. I need to think, I said quietly. Amy smiled. All right, why don't you go work out a bit? Darren and Tony will be here soon. I know Darren will push you hard to prepare for your next fight. We talked briefly about the upcoming match. It was my third professional fight since the one in Los Angeles against Cody, which I had lost by points to a skilled opponent. In Johannesburg, I triumphed against a confident fighter who had underestimated me, knocking him out in the third round. My previous matches had been grueling, but I had built a strong reputation and a sense of release in the ring. This next opponent was a renowned MMA fighter from America, Blaine Johnston, skilled, dangerous, and confident. He'd just finished a tour in Australia and had won multiple fights. Despite Darren's push, I didn't feel fully ready. Reporters and commentators would broadcast this fight live worldwide, adding pressure. My focus had to be perfect. Amy, due to her pregnancy, would watch from the VIP area with her family. Ruth, Peter, and Rain would be there to help her afterward. Darren wrapped my arms as Blaine entered, sizing me up with a calm, unnerving confidence. So you're Robbie, he said, a faint smirk curling his lips. You'll do. Then he walked away. Darren whistled. That's promising, he murmured. He's taking you seriously. For the next 30 minutes, we dissected strategies, my weaknesses, his tendencies. Tony fetched Amy and her family to wish me luck. I froze when I saw my mother walk in with them. Mom, what are you doing here? I asked, mixed feelings swirling inside. Amy answered gently. It was my idea. I thought it'd be nice for your mom to be here. My chest tightened. This was not what I needed before a fight. Mom looked away. I shouldn't have come. It was a mistake, she whispered. I didn't think. I stepped toward her and hugged her tightly. Tears spilled down her cheeks. For a fleeting moment, nothing else mattered. I pulled back to see her face. She tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. It's okay, Mom. You don't have to leave, I said. Are you sure? She asked, voice quivering. Yes, I said. Just you though? No one else. She nodded and hugged me again. Oh, my baby boy. I love you. I'm so sorry for everything. We shouldn't have treated you that way. I patted her back, unsure how to respond. It's all right. We'll talk later. Right now, I need to focus on this match. Will you sit with Amy and watch? She nodded. Minutes later, Blaine approached with a smug grin. This will be easier than I thought, he said, and the bell rang. The first round was brutal. His punches were heavy, his kicks sharp. I barely survived. Darren's eyes met mine, urging me to concentrate. In the second round, I stood firmer, but his attacks kept coming. My mind kept drifting to my mother, crying in my arms, and to Amy, watching anxiously. I struggled to remain in the moment. Between rounds, Amy and Mom approached. I glanced between them, then felt an unexpected slap across my cheek. Robert, I didn't raise a weak son, she said firmly. If it makes you weak, I take it back. Where's the fighter we saw that night? Where's the boy who stood up to his older brother? I was angry, Mom, I admitted, cheek stinging. Seeing you all, and Brad proud with Georgia, it made me furious. I wanted to fight, but that anger is gone now. Then use it, Robbie, she said, showing me a photo of Brad, Georgia, and their son. This is what he's done. He tried to hurt you. Let it push you. Think of it as another fight, another punch. Show us your strength. She walked away, leaving Amy, Darren, Tony, and me to watch her. Go get him, my man, Amy said, smiling. Darren nodded. Mom's words worked. The next round hit me like a storm. I started fighting back, moving faster, dodging Blaine's powerful kicks, and landing sharp punches. If I had listened closely, I might have caught the commentators whispering about my mother's words that had fueled me during the break. Blaine's confidence faltered as the fourth round began. He was cautious now, almost hesitant. I pressed harder, each strike carrying the anger and frustration I had bottled up for years. He fell twice, and by the end of the round, a cut above my eye reminded me of the battle, both inside and out. Darren patched me up quickly, but I felt stronger, more in sync with the fight. The crowd roared around us, a mixture of excitement and tension. In the final round, I found my rhythm. Blaine came at me, aggressive as ever, but now I saw his openings. I targeted every vulnerability, every weak spot, channeling all my emotion, anger, frustration, pain, into each strike. A poor kick from him gave me the perfect opening to land a few punches to his stomach. He retaliated with a flurry, but I dodged, countering with a kick that pushed him back onto defense. I pictured Brad, imagining him mocking me, taunting me about Georgia and the photos. My fists became vessels for that long-suppressed rage, transforming into raw, focused power. Blaine was on survival mode, unaware that he was battling not just me, but the ghost of my struggles with my family, the years of manipulation, the betrayals. With less than a minute left, I breathed deeply, controlling my fury, stepping back to regroup. Blaine saw the moment and rushed forward, but I feigned a jab, tricked him into lowering his guard, and delivered a perfect kick that sent him to his knees. I held him there until he conceded. Victory. The referee raised my hand, announcing me as the Australian champion. The crowd erupted. I helped Blaine up, showing respect, and he shook my hand, smiling genuinely, muttering, "I'll remember this fight." I chuckled softly, thinking about my brother and the reminder my mom had given me, fuel for strength, not weakness. Back in the dressing room, Amy enveloped me in a warm hug, followed by Darren, Tony, Peter, Rain, and Ruth. Finally, Mom stepped forward shyly, and I opened my arms. "Thanks, Mom," I said gently as she came into my embrace. We went through the post-fight rituals, showers, changing clothes, and Amy checked in about my mom being present. I admitted honestly that her presence had been crucial. Without Mom, I might have struggled to channel my focus, to harness the anger I needed to beat Blaine. It was clarity born from chaos. I admitted to Amy I still felt unsure about forgiving Mom fully, let alone Dad or Brad, but her support anchored me. Fans were outside, reporters buzzing, cameras catching fragments of our private family moments from the ring. I fielded questions cautiously, asserting that some parts were private, asking for space until after our new baby arrived. The media buzzed, but I was grateful for a buffer, even if temporary. 2 weeks later, Sarah Marie was born, a beautiful, perfect cry piercing the quiet of our home. Amy, exhausted from a 22-hour labor, was radiant in her care for her newborn. William joined us, and together we marveled at our daughter, a symbol of life amid chaos. Mom began staying with us, a quiet presence helping with William and adjusting to her role in our lives again. At times, she seemed lost, gazing out over the ocean, reflecting on the past, the family fractures, the secrets, the choices she wished had been different. She opened up, revealing regrets, fears, and her struggles against my father's control. We talked about the meeting when Brad got Georgia pregnant, about the manipulation and pressure, about the consequences of silence and compliance. Gradually, I understood. The rejection I had felt was guilt and shame imposed by others, not a lack of love. These revelations forged a fragile bridge between us. One evening, we watched the sunset together. Mom's hands rested in mine, her voice gentle. She expressed gratitude for seeing her grandchildren, for reconnecting with me, for these fleeting moments of peace. Her words carried weight, heavy with the knowledge of her illness, a tumor pressing on her brain, pain mounting, life slipping away. Tears blurred my vision as she confessed she had clung to these months just to make memories with me and my family. My heart ached at the unfairness of time and loss, yet I clung to the warmth of her presence, the echo of her love. The days passed quickly. Mom slept deeply, never waking again, her life ending quietly but profoundly. Calls to Dad and others went unanswered. Brad remained in custody, Joanna distant. Georgia came once, shy and sorrowful, leaving a letter to be read later, a quiet act of farewell. The world seemed to pause as news of Mom's death spread. Headlines across Australia, media frenzy around the mother who had inspired a champion. Friends, colleagues, and strangers came to pay respects, remembering her kindness and resilience. Those closest to the chaos, Dad, Brad Jr., Joanna, were absent. I felt the sting, yet understood the reasons. At her eulogy, I spoke truthfully. I acknowledged the anger, the pain, the journey of reconnection, and the love that persisted despite everything. I shared memories, victories, first steps, graduations, and the simple joys of family. Tears streaked my face as I recounted the last sunset, the quiet togetherness that had healed more than words could. I said goodbye, honoring her strength, her choices, her unwavering love. With her cremation, we placed a memorial plaque on the Gold Coast. Standing there in silence, I met a woman who observed quietly. She noted my lingering anger toward my family, and I admitted its persistence. Even after everything, the scars ran deep. She acknowledged it, shrinking a little, a quiet testament that some wounds take time, patience, and understanding, perhaps longer than a lifetime, to fully heal. I nodded, knowing every attempt to let go of the past was met with reminders. If it wasn't her, it was Dad. If it wasn't him, it was Brad. And if it wasn't Brad, it was Georgia. Even with all of them claiming I was out of the family, somehow they found ways to keep me entwined in their chaos. The woman shrank slightly under my gaze. "I guess we deserve that," she admitted. "But Robbie," she hesitated, her voice wavering. "You deserve everything you and your family have created, Joanna," I said, finally letting her name leave my lips. "Your dad and brother act like they're the best. And you? You always wanted to be the favorite. You never wanted to grow up. You sought praise for taking the easy path." I could feel the anger boiling beneath my calm exterior. Joanna just stood there, silent. "You never stood up for me," I continued, my voice sharp and cold. "When they put me down, it made you look good. You wanted something over me, something to feel important. So you stayed silent, kept secrets, and when it all came out, you were ashamed. You came here ready for a fight because your secret had lost its power. Her eyes fell, regret clear on her face. But I need to thank you, I said, my voice softening. Joanna blinked, confused. That day, you brought Amy to Darren and Tony's, I explained. You brought me my wife, the person I love more than I ever could have loved Georgia. I'm happier with Amy than I could have been with anyone else, even if my past had been different. I took a deep breath. Amy loves me completely. I married Georgia for the wrong reasons, and honestly, Dad probably had a hand in it. If Georgia hadn't let me down with Brad, someone else would have eventually. But Amy and I are right for each other. Joanna nodded quietly, sadness etched in her features. I guess that's how it was with Chris and me, she admitted. I raised an eyebrow, prompting her to explain. She laughed softly, without joy. Yeah, I know you heard. Silly of me. I let my fiancée be with my sister-in-law, and now she's expecting. I'm alone, upset, without work. Dad paired us up, thinking it was best, but Chris was a mistake. I know, Joanna, I murmured. She cut in, her voice trembling slightly. I'm sorry for everything. You were right. I'm glad Mom's gone, Brad's in jail, and everything is finally shut down. I'm moving south. Where? I asked, curiosity piqued. Melbourne, she said after a pause. I have a few friends there. I need to disappear from the name they call me here. Start fresh. I nodded, understanding. Robbie, do you think, maybe someday you might forgive me, like you did with Mom? There was a flicker of hope in her voice I hadn't heard in years. I sighed, the weight of the past heavy on my chest. I'm not sure. I will never forget what you all did, but right now, the fact we aren't shouting means maybe I can forgive someday. She shrugged, her shoulders slumping. I guess that's all I can hope for. She glanced at the plaque with Mom's name and lightly touched it, then turned back to me. I'm glad you were there in the end. Mom's last moments were with the best of us. I blinked, surprised. What did you say? She met my eyes and reminded me of the times I had coffee with Mom. Those quiet mornings, where she always reassured me. Mom said, you were the best of us. Why? I reached out and touched the plaque, tears threatening to spill. I'll miss her, Joe. Then Joanna did something unexpected. She stepped forward and hugged me, holding me tightly. Warm tears pressed against my chest as her whispered words trembled in the quiet. Don't listen to anyone else. Mom was right. You are the best of us. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. She let go and stepped back, lingering just enough to let the moment settle before walking away. Joanna, I called. She turned. I hesitated, the words heavy but necessary. I forgive you. Her eyes widened in surprise, lingering on me silently before nodding and walking away. It would be years before we crossed paths again. I returned to the car where Amy and the kids were waiting. She hugged me tightly, her eyes searching mine for reassurance. Are you okay? Yeah, I said quietly. The kids slept in the back as we drove home, the hum of the road beneath us. I let myself relax, for the first time in a long while, feeling a fragment of peace. Amy teased me about slowing down, but she was right. Life didn't pause, and neither would we. The months passed with quiet routines, punctuated by work, children, and fleeting moments of joy. I honored my commitment to the media, built my business, and cherished family time. 6 months later, the trial began. Brad, my brother, stood accused, his actions scrutinized by the court. Amy and I watched, tense, as Georgia testified. She looked frail, worn, yet resolute. Her words stunned the courtroom. She revealed truths that turned the family's narrative upside down. Children not fathered by who everyone assumed. Marriages built on manipulation, secrets that cut deep. When chaos erupted, with shouting and disbelief, I felt a surge of emotion I couldn't contain. My father's smug glance ignited rage, but Amy's hand held me steady. I wanted to confront him, but I stayed seated, letting the truth speak for itself. The courtroom settled, leaving me stunned but resolute. Years of anger, pain, and betrayal had woven a story far more tangled than I ever imagined, yet the core remained. The family I chose, the love I protected, and the truths finally laid bare. The weight of it all settled on me, heavy but strangely liberating. The courtroom felt heavy with tension as the prosecutor tried again, voice steady but probing. Let me make sure I understand. You were married to Mr. Robert Other, the youngest son of Mr. Brad Sr., while also involved with Robert's older brother Brad. Yes, Georgia admitted, her voice tight. I became pregnant, and everyone assumed the child was Robert's. When the truth came out, I said it was Brad's. Now I claim the child belongs to their father. The lawyer shook his head in disbelief, the air around us thick with silence. Everyone waited, eyes fixed on Georgia. It only happened twice, she said finally, glancing at me. Robbie was away, and both Brad and my father pressured me into drinking. I don't remember much, but the DNA test during the divorce clarified everything. I never told anyone until now. The lawyer paused, trying to process her words, while my father smirked subtly and my brother looked lost, a flicker of panic crossing his face. Then Georgia laid bare the ways my father, brother, and sister had influenced her choices, the dark truths leading to her second pregnancy with my sister's fiancé. The courtroom remained hushed, the secret about her children's parentage a weight she could never escape. The judge redirected proceedings, keeping focus. How would you describe your relationship with your ex-husband, now married to your current husband's brother? The lawyer pressed. There is no relationship, Georgia replied flatly. When prompted further, she explained, from the day Robbie caught me with his brother, saw his family's disappointment, he cut ties. He moved away, married, had children. He has always refused to repair things, and I can't blame him after everything we did. The prosecution nodded, urging her on. So you betrayed him and his family, including marrying his brother. But things weren't good. That's right, Georgia said quietly. She recounted Brad and Dad's cruelty toward Robbie, how they sought to ruin his life, how Brad had spoken of revenge, and how they pinned all blame on Robbie for misfortunes. When asked to illustrate the invasion of privacy, Georgia's gaze flicked from me to Amy, then to Brad, and finally back to the lawyer. Her words cut sharply. My father had berated me, saying I was a mistake, that I existed only to make Brad look better, and that any children I might have were weak. Then she revealed the chilling truth. Her pregnancy with Brad's child had been the result of manipulation while intoxicated, a haze I shivered to recall. Though her betrayal was staggering, it was clear she had been manipulated, caught in a web spun by others. She detailed the divorce, Brad's threats, his attempts at revenge, and the lingering shadow of my family's interference. I listened, fury and sorrow warring inside me, yet I held my composure. The questioning turned to the personal photos Robbie and Georgia had taken, once private, now exploited. Did you ever share these with the defendant? No, she admitted, embarrassment and pain mingling in her eyes. I kept them for myself. They were reminders of what I had lost, my only solace. Her recounting of Brad barging in, grabbing the phone, and forcibly taking the images left the courtroom silent, the weight of betrayal pressing on all of us. She stepped down, tears staining her cheeks, and sat quietly, avoiding my gaze. My father remained smug, my brother glared. The prosecutor acknowledged the courage it had taken for her to speak. Brad was called to the stand next. His eyes wild, a grin plastered across his face, he admitted to everything, his confession shocking the courtroom. His arrogance and lack of remorse were palpable, the memory of our childhood rivalry, the ways he had sought to dominate and humiliate, all exposed in a disturbing, almost casual recounting. He spoke of how our family dynamics had shaped him, how my diligence had inadvertently made him feel inferior, how he had manipulated circumstances, stolen moments, and caused pain, yet always with a smile. I could feel every unspoken insult, every manipulation, and every cruel laugh lodged in the air around us. Brad's actions, stealing the photos, attempting to harm Robbie, and sowing chaos, were all laid bare. The courtroom hung on every word, the twisted family dynamics unraveling before our eyes. Our father's betrayals, once hidden, were now clear. Our mother's absence loomed heavier than ever. Eventually, the trial concluded. Brad was found guilty of invading privacy and other charges. Georgia was granted her freedom, and the dissolution of her marriage to Brad was swift. A 5-year sentence awaited him. Outside the courthouse, I searched for Georgia, finding her standing quietly in the parking lot. Her shoulders rose and fell as she drew a deep breath. Robbie, please don't, she whispered. Today is hard enough. I'm only here for the kids. Your mother was my only friend, and now she's gone. I approached, letting go of Amy's hand, and pulled Georgia into a hug. At first, she was tense, but slowly her body softened, her tears soaking into my chest. Amy watched, tears in her eyes as well. I couldn't forgive her yet, but I could show kindness, even through the lingering hurt. When she stepped back, wiping her eyes, she murmured her thanks. I offered a sad, understanding smile. You were brave today. That alone matters. Amy squeezed my hand and offered Georgia a gentle touch. We never really had a chance, did we, Robbie? Georgia asked softly. Yes, I said, my voice steady but heavy with memory. We had every chance. But you chose the path that hurt us. If you'd been honest, if you'd shared everything, things could have been different. Yet you hid the truth about your son and tried to pass him off as mine. That was your choice. She nodded, tears held at bay. Amy asked where she and the kids were staying. With Ruth and her family, Georgia replied. She's helping, even if reluctantly. Then Georgia reminded me of the letter she had left in the hospital, an apology she had asked me to read later. I promised I would. She turned to Amy, voice soft but sincere. Please take care of him. You've made him happier than I ever could. With that, she got into a battered Kia Rio and drove away. Amy leaned against me. I feel a bit sorry for her, she murmured. Yeah, I admitted. She could have been honest, but she wasn't. I don't know if I'll ever forgive her completely. On the drive home, we spoke of forgiveness, of lessons learned, and of the tangled web of family and betrayal. That night, wrapped in each other's arms, we found quiet solace. The next morning, over coffee, news of the trial flashed across the screen, stories of my father and brother splashed across the headlines. A reporter lingered outside, but the locals helped me slip by unnoticed. At home, William and Sarah played quietly while Amy held Sarah on the balcony. I placed George's letter in front of me, its weight heavy with words yet unread. Are you going to read that? Amy asked softly, her voice steady, reminding me that the past could be faced and perhaps, someday, even reconciled. I forced a small, tight smile and nodded that I would read it. Sitting quietly, each of us in our own space, I unfolded the letter and began. My dearest Robbie, it began. I know I might not deserve to call you that anymore, but no matter what has happened, that's how I still see you. The last few years since you learned about Brad and other matters I hope you never heard of have been unbearable. Things have only gotten worse since the night I first spent time with him. I want you to know I have cared for you since we met. You were strong, intelligent, and always knew how to fix things. I will forever regret what I did. I hurt you deeply. I should have been your wife, your best friend, your support, but I betrayed you over time. I have learned that while I feel remorse, you likely felt worse. You might know that your brother has deceived me for years, but my actions hurt you more. Robbie, this is my apology. I am truly sorry for all I did. I missed my best friend and regret breaking your heart. I wish I had talked to you instead of following your family's lead. You might have still left me, but I would feel less guilt today. I am writing this after hearing that Hattie is not well, and I plan to give it to you the next time I see you. Your mother loved you dearly, and we often cried together about everything that happened. After seeing the news and knowing your father made your mother leave, I hope you found some peace. There's a saying about betrayal that I keep thinking about. Your parents told me you wanted to take action against your family and me. Well, there's nothing left. It's all in ruins. We thought we could destroy you, but only ended up hurting ourselves more. With your mom gone, Joanna is considering leaving too. Your dad is angry. Your brother will follow him into whatever trouble he creates next. I won't stay to witness it. I'm leaving Brad and ending our marriage. Honestly, I never loved him. He was just there when you left, and being with him felt like punishment. I cannot bear the lies, the cruelty, or how he treats the children. Ruth has kindly offered to let me and the kids stay with her family for a few months until I sort my life out. The only solace I find is knowing you're happy with Amy, while I struggle. She is everything I am not. Dedicated, hardworking, loving, and loyal. My mom told me about your child and the one on the way. I hope you find happiness together and never repeat my mistakes. I know you despise me, and I deserve it. I despise myself too, and perhaps will never make things right. If you could forgive me, it would mean more than I can say. Live your life, Robbie. Always love, Georgia. I read it again, then set the letter down. Amy watched thoughtfully while Sarah nursed quietly beside us. Finally, she asked, her voice gentle, if she could read it. I handed it over, and as she finished, she passed Sarah to me while burping her. You're right, Amy said softly. It's a good apology, but you don't seem very emotional. No, I admitted, staring at the ocean beyond the balcony. I've already spent so much of my emotion on this. I feel for her. Yes, she was hurt by her family, but I can't summon the old pain. After everything, I feel neutral mostly. Amy folded the letter and slipped it back into the envelope. I grabbed my phone and texted Ruth. Hi Ruth. Please let Georgia know I read her letter. Thank her for the apology and tell her I hope she finds peace. I showed Amy the message. That's not forgiveness, she said quietly. No, but I don't wish her harm anymore. That's a start, I replied. The morning news had been relentless. Clips from the trial, headlines like, brother gets what he deserves, and family falls apart. Brad and my father bore the brunt of public anger. A few weeks later, Tony had her first child, a girl named Carla. With Sarah and Carla together, the two became inseparable, a bond of chaos and comfort that mirrored the older struggles in our family. Training for my final fight consumed the next months. Darren and Tony supported me as I prepared for a showdown with a Russian MMA fighter, Stephen the Magnificent. Every day was a mix of grueling work at Arrow Homes, family care, and punishing training. Amy was my anchor. Even when I returned home exhausted, her presence made it worth every drop of sweat. Fight night arrived. The arena buzzed with tension and anticipation. Each round was a battle of skill and endurance. Stephen and I pushed each other to the limit, sweat and determination streaking our faces. By the fifth round, the match had become an intricate dance of offense and defense. The crowd's roar pulsed like a living thing through the arena. Then, the unthinkable happened. A third figure stepped into the ring. It was my father, gray-haired, older, and seething with anger. He carried a weapon and an unmistakable intent to harm. Time slowed as I realized the danger. Thousands of spectators watched. Security was too far to intervene immediately. I stayed calm, measuring every move. Dad, I said softly, letting the weight of years hang between us. Are you okay? A bitter laugh escaped him. Really? That's your question? Right now, everyone sees me threaten you, and you ask if I'm okay? Come on, Robert. I needed to see you, I said, voice steady. The tension snapped as he raised the weapon, fury blazing. The first shot went off, grazing my shoulder. Pain flared, but I reacted instinctively, moving, striking, and countering. Bullets bit into flesh, but adrenaline sharpened every sense. I jumped, kicked, and knocked the weapon from his hands. The crowd was frozen, shock eclipsing chaos. Security surged, securing my father. Amy reached me, frantic and teary, holding me as Darren and Tony aided with first aid. The shots had hurt, but I was alive. The stadium rang with stunned silence, punctuated by sirens. I clutched Amy's hand, offering a small, reassuring smile through the blood and sweat. Stephen, my opponent, came forward, his respect evident. Never seen such courage, he said, voice thick with his Russian accent. The ambulance arrived, and I was whisked to surgery. Amy never left my side. 2 days later, I woke, sore but alive. The bullets were removed, my injury stabilized. Amy hugged me, tears mingling with laughter at my weak jokes. The world outside was still buzzing. Reporters, news coverage, and the relentless curiosity of the public. Security measures ensured our family remained safe. My father faced charges. His actions had become a global spectacle. 9 days later, I returned home, carefully instructed to rest. Even as I healed, offers flooded in. Interviews, film adaptations, and media appearances. But my focus remained on family, on recovery, and on the quiet hope of normalcy amidst the whirlwind. The ocean stretched beyond our home, a steady reminder that life continued, fragile but resilient, beyond the chaos of our past. The evening felt surreal, as if life itself had shifted on an invisible axis that Friday night when I returned home. Sitting alone on our balcony, drink in hand, I watched the ocean churn beneath a darkening sky. A storm crept over the mountains to the left, its clouds heavy and swollen with rain. lightning flaring across the horizon as the sun sank quickly. In about half an hour, the storm would be upon us, but for now, I allowed myself to savor its raw, wild beauty. I sensed movement beside me. Amy slid her hand into mine and sat close, her presence quiet but grounding. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. "Yeah, just thinking," I replied, and she nodded, as if she knew the exact weight of my thoughts. It reminded me of another Friday night, one that had forever changed my life. "I don't think I ever told you this," I began, watching the storm gather over the mountains. But that night, I flew home through a storm much like this one. When I walked away from my parents' house, drenched in the Gold Coast rain, I felt completely lost. Amy sipped her drink, listening, her eyes reflecting the flashes of lightning. The people I had trusted most told me to just get over my wife's betrayal, indifferent to the turmoil inside me. "What about now?" Amy asked. I pointed at the sky, where lightning streaked across the darkening clouds. The rain began to fall in streaks, a cleansing rhythm. "I see things differently now," I said. "That storm that night, it helped wash away the pain. If I had followed my family's advice, I wouldn't have the love I have today." Yes, I had lost my parents, my brother, my sister, and my wife that night. But I had also found a soulmate in Amy. I had traveled the world, fought on international stages, and raised 2 incredible children. Sure, there's been hurt, I admitted, rolling my shoulder, feeling a faint twinge from an old injury. But Amy, I wouldn't change a single thing if it meant I wouldn't have you or our kids. We lingered on the balcony, the rain falling around us, watching as William sat on Amy's lap, Tony brought Sarah over, and Darren carried Carla. By the time we went inside, drenched but laughing, the storm had become part of our shared memory. Showers, hot chocolate, and bedtime followed, with Amy and I nestled together, listening to the rain and flashes of lightning painting our bedroom walls. At 2 in the morning, I awoke to Amy close beside me, softly kissing my shoulder. Her warmth was comforting, a reminder of the life we had built despite everything. Even after 2 kids, she was breathtaking, her soft sounds of contentment filling the room as I held her. After a while, she turned toward me, smiling, and we shared a quiet 15 minutes, cherishing the deep bond that had endured storms of every kind. "I love you, Robbie," she whispered, and I held her close. The following year swept by in a whirlwind. Amy and I hired a publicist and agent, navigating fame and attention we hadn't sought, but could no longer avoid. Security became a constant presence, a shield from intrusive fans and opportunists. Occasionally, other women would approach me, but with experience and guidance from Amy and our team, we deflected them tactfully, preserving the sanctity of our family. Then came a letter from Joanna. Hesitant, I opened it, unsure if I could face her again. Her words were humble, filled with remorse for past transgressions and a desire to support me against our father. Meanwhile, our father received a 25-year sentence in the same medium security prison as Brad Jr. I never visited either of them. Life with William and Sarah continued, their toddler years full of energy and discovery. Following our publicist's advice, we embarked on a world tour, appearing on talk shows and sharing our story with care, while negotiating a mini-series based on our lives, The Nuclear Family. It became a sensation, the tale of a man standing up for justice and finding love amidst chaos resonating with audiences. Amy managed the public side of our businesses while I remained grounded in family and training, our ventures flourishing. Over 2 years, we expanded our offices along Australia's east coast and into New Zealand, resisting pressure to extend into Asia despite the opportunities fame presented. Our friends Darren and Tony, pillars of support, continued their work and opened a mixed martial arts dojo that flourished in the public eye. 3 years had passed since the shooting, and though the limelight had dimmed, security and loyal friends ensured our safety and peace of mind. One spring afternoon, we sat at a bayside cafe outside Brisbane with Peter and Ring. The kids colored and laughed while we enjoyed our meals. I savored a decadent burger and thick chocolate shake when I sensed someone behind us. Turning, I froze. 3 figures approached. Georgia, my ex-wife. She looked simple, weary, her hair short, her children clinging to her. The kids ran to Rain, calling her grandma, leaving Georgia momentarily stunned. "I'm sorry, everyone," she said, collecting herself. "Barry, Sophia, let's keep going." Amy nudged me under the table, a silent warning. I stood, waving our security team down. "It's okay, Georgia," I said. "They can chat with Rain for a few minutes." She glanced at Amy, then at me, holding a wrapped lunch from a nearby shop. "I was taking the kids to the park," she said, her voice tinged with surprise and apology. I suggested she join us, but she shook her head, a tear slipping down her cheek. Amy whispered, "Go after her, you fool." I hesitated, then followed, one security guard trailing discreetly. I found Georgia on a bench near the playground, head in her hands, quietly crying. I offered a napkin. "Why, Robbie? Why?" she asked, and I wasn't sure whether she meant that moment, her past actions, or the tangled web of our lives. I leaned closer, gazing out at the distant ocean. "Because your sister is smarter than us," I replied, half in jest, half truth. She chuckled, blowing her nose, then lowered her shoulders. "I'm sorry, Robbie. Truly sorry for everything." I nodded. "I can accept that, Georgia. And I'm sorry too." "You're sorry? For what?" "For holding anger too long. For letting the past shape my life. It wasn't all on you. Our father drove much of it." Georgia listened quietly as I continued, owning my part in the past mistakes, acknowledging the anger I carried. She glanced at Harold, our security guard, and asked if he followed us everywhere. I laughed. "Yes, he helps keep the more eager fans away." Gradually, our families arrived. Peter and Rain shepherded the kids, laughter and chaos filling the air. Georgia watched, worried about the dynamics, but Amy and I reassured her. We discussed names, family, and memories, each word loosening the tension. Barry, I said, smiling at her choice for her son. It felt right. Amy finally asked gently, how are you, Georgia? She hesitated, then shrugged. Okay, I guess. Single mom with 2 kids from different fathers. My love life, not exciting, thanks to my ex-father-in-law. I'm sorry, I said reflexively. She laughed. Robbie, we barely spoke in years, and now we're saying sorry repeatedly. Feels like a dream. She shared her struggles with dating and family, lightening the moment with humor about our miniseries. Amy and Georgia exchanged smiles, bridging old wounds. Georgia also thanked us for financial support for her and others shown in the series, including the not-so-brotherly brother and a total waste of space of a father for using their likeness. The gesture, timely and meaningful, had helped provide school supplies for her children, a small but impactful step toward healing. In that moment, with the storm behind us and the sun breaking through, the weight of the past felt lighter. Old wounds remained, but forgiveness, understanding, and the fragile hope of new beginnings began to take root. Georgia exhaled slowly, her eyes heavy with the weight of unspoken words. Amy sat on my lap, arms wrapped around my neck, a silent shield and comfort. Amy, Georgia began tentatively. It's fine, sis, Amy replied softly, sensing the gravity in Georgia's voice. No, I need to say this, Georgia insisted, her tone trembling. Amy, I have not been a good sister. I hurt you when I was with your husband and left you to face everything alone. You didn't know, but I mocked you behind your back, laughed at your fears, thinking you were trying to take what was mine. Her voice broke, tears spilling freely. Even as upset as you were with me for what I did to Robbie, I felt worse. But now, I need to tell you that I'm proud of you, Amy. Back then, none of us understood. I didn't see your strength. Robbie, he was the best of us. He made all of us better. Since he left, we haven't been our best selves. Tears welled in both Amy's and my eyes. Georgia continued, her voice quiet, fragile. For years, I was blind, doing what others wanted, never seeing my own brokenness. I meant what I said in that letter. I've learned from my mistakes. I may never feel whole again, but my children deserve a mother who lives for them, not one weighed down by guilt. I am truly sorry to both of you. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need to say it anyway. Her hands rested in her lap, smaller, frilier than I'd ever seen. Amy inhaled sharply, ready to respond, but I pressed my hand to her leg, silencing her. It's my turn, Georgia, I said softly. She looked at me, searching. This is the hardest thing I've ever said. I have only ever opened my heart to 2 people, and both of you are here now. Amy found me when I was lost, helped me through times when my family betrayed me. Georgia, my love for you once brought me pain. Without Amy, I wouldn't have survived it. Georgia nodded, understanding the depth of my words. Amy held my arm, her quiet presence steady. She lifted me up when I had nothing. I continued, my voice low but resolute. Amy never let me down like you did. Since your letter, my anger toward you has faded. I don't love you anymore, Georgia, but I don't hate you either. I inhaled, the weight of the moment pressing down, and whispered, Georgia, I forgive you. Silence wrapped around us, almost tangible. Then she broke, sobbing openly. Little Barry noticed and hurried over, William trailing him. It's all right, sweetheart, Georgia said after a moment, composing herself. Uncle Robbie just said something that made me really happy. What, Mom? Barry asked, eyes wide. He forgave me, she said simply. For the next half hour, we spoke about the power of forgiveness, how it allows wounds to heal. Barry, curious, asked why I forgave his mother for actions long past. Georgia answered, quietly but firmly, telling him that forgiveness allowed her to love him freely, without the shadows of past mistakes. William chimed in, asking for clarity. Barry, older than his years, shrugged and explained, I don't remember my dad well, but I remember arguments. He blamed Mom for things I don't understand. I'm just a kid. His smirk lightened the room, and we laughed softly. The mood lifted further as I suggested ice cream across the street. Forgiveness didn't mean Georgia re-entered our lives fully. Amy, protective and wise, ensured boundaries. Her sister might forgive, but Amy was cautious. Old wounds ran deep, and emotions complicated what could have been simple. Georgia never remarried, dating again only when her children were teenagers, and I occasionally met her partner. Good man, careful, respectful, aware of the history, but settled without marriage. My brother emerged from prison a year after I forgave Georgia, but neither of us reached out. Attempts to reconnect with Georgia failed. A restraining order quickly ensured peace. Brad Jr. struggled after release, his life unraveling into small apartments, government aid, brushes with the law. My father never left prison, his health deteriorating, ultimately taking his own life. A final note beside him read simply, You did this, Robert. The world barely noticed. Years passed. Joanna, reaching out, asked me to walk her down the aisle. She met Jordan, an ordinary, good man with a past of his own, and together they built a life, eventually blessed with 3 children. Darren and Tony surprised everyone with 4 children, including a set of triplets, their lives lively and chaotic. Peter and Ruth retired, traveling across Australia in their camper van, connecting with family when possible. Amy and I continued our life together. Business thrived, homes were secure, media attention occasional, but manageable. My fighting career behind me, commentary offers came in, still under consideration. As we approached our 40s, the wrinkles and quarrels of age softened, replaced by shared laughter, quiet nights, hand-holding, and a love resilient against time and trials. One evening, Amy entered the room in a light robe, playful and radiant. Her eyes caught mine, and I felt that familiar pull, the spark that had guided us through storms, heartbreak, and chaos. She laughed, turning away, the invitation clear. I was coming after her. Even now, after all that had passed, she could still capture my heart completely. And in that truth lay the story's heart. Cherish love, embrace growth, hold on to the ones who matter. Because without Amy, everything would have turned out very differently.